Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Ari, and today we're going to have some more stories about our toxic life. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to my channel, like the video, if you enjoy it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now without further ado, let's go. Today's first story. In this story, Opie discovers his girlfriend cheating while babysitting for a wealthy family. He rushes to the scene, finding them in a compromising situation. The family intervenes, chastising their son and expressing disappointment in the girlfriend. The family reveals they had a hidden camera, leading to the breakup. Despite the girlfriend's apologies, he decides to end the relationship. The family supports him, and he severs ties with his unfaithful girlfriend. The incident is shared with the church community, prompting the girlfriend to move out of town. Now let's get into the story. My girlfriend, 22, had a job babysitting for this one. Really nice family. We both knew from church. They were wealthy, so spending time in their house wasn't really a chore. To make things even better, their younger kids were really well behaved and went to sleep easily. She had me, 25, come over a few times while she was babysitting and the kids were in bed. We never did the hokey pokey or anything, although it felt like we could have gotten away with it. This family had an older son named Sean. He was 18, but they didn't usually have him babysit because he was always up to something or at hockey practice. One time while she was babysitting, my girlfriend randomly stopped responding to my texts. I thought something was seriously wrong. She already told me the kids were asleep, but I guess there was a small chance one of them woke up again. I waited an hour and didn't hear anything. I decided to drive over there to check it out. At first, nothing appeared to be wrong. No flashing police lights or anything scary like that. I walked up the path to the front door and noticed an odd movement through the window. I cupped my hands around my face to see into the living room. Through a tiny gap in the blinds, I was shocked to see John having close with my girlfriend. I turned away and tried to open the front door, but it was locked. Just then, a car pulled into the driveway in a hurry. It barely stopped before the door opened and John's dad jumped out. I put my hands up instinctually and said, "I just got here." John's dad paid me no mind at all. He just rushed to the front door and unlocked it in a hurry. He barged in, followed by John's mom asking what the hell they thought. I thought they were doing. My girlfriend screamed and John yelled. His dad told him to get out of the house. He was not allowed to have unprotected premarital meet in their home with his younger siblings asleep upstairs. He asked them how terrible it would have been if the kids came downstairs and found them having close. He looked to my girlfriend, who had only managed to get her underwear back on, and told her she was supposed to be the responsible adult in this situation, and she failed miserably. It was then that my girlfriend noticed I was standing in the doorway. She burst into tears and put the rest of her clothes on. She apologized sincerely to John's dad, mom, and me before she got in her car and left. I realized I had no place there now that my cheating girlfriend left the scene. Just as I was about to leave, John's mom followed me outside, closing the front door behind her to muffle the yelling between John and his dad. She apologized to me for what I was going through. She reminded me that the end of one relationship doesn't have to be the end of the world. I thanked her and asked how they knew what was happening at the house. She said they had a hidden camera in the living room that connected to their cell phones. They'd see me every time I was at their house. But since they knew I was a well-behaved man, they didn't mind me hanging out with my girlfriend. They actually felt their kids were safer when I was there too. I told my parents everything that happened. I lived on my own at this point, but I needed their support. They told me I didn't need to ever speak to my girlfriend again. She proved herself unfit to be a wife. Just then she called me. She told me she would never make this mistake again. I believed her, but that didn't mean I wanted her back. I asked her why she did it and what happened. She just told me that after John came home, he started talking with her and after a while asked point blank if she wanted to have close. She gave in, not really thinking too hard about it. It hurt to hear that. How could she just not think about it? She gave in to her primal instincts, with little resistance, assuming she wouldn't get caught. It was so unfair. To me, her loving boyfriend, I was loyal. To her, even. When a woman from my job came on to me, well, that phone call was all I needed to officially decide I wasn't going to stay with her anymore. I told her on the same phone call, "All right, well, it was nice knowing you, but our time together has come to an end. I wish you the best," and hung up. It wasn't very long until she tried to call me again. Several times, but I never answered. John's parents had told my ex's parents and the church that they caught her having intimate in their house while she was supposed to be babysitting. I didn't keep up with my ex since, but heard she moved out of town. Today's second story. In this story, Obie discovers his wife contracted herpes during a vacation with her sister. Fearing he might be infected, he stays with his mother until his test results come back negative. Uncovering the truth, he confronts his wife and exposes her diagnosis to her work colleagues. The revelation leads to a divorce, with the wife facing public shame and contemplating the impact of the betrayal on their lives. Now let's get into the story. My wife and I were married for 10 years. I was her first and I thought only sexual partner. We married at 22 years old, and when the story I'm about to tell you took place, we were 32. I was told she went on a vacation with her sister, but throughout the week she was gone. Her responses became weird and less frequent. I was already worried by the time she got back, and my fears were only she said she didn't feel well, and this was right before COVID reached the US. So she made a doctor's appointment after that one. She went to a second one but wouldn't tell me what was going on. I was in the dark and cared about my wife. I wanted answers, so I decided to search her car for appointment summaries or anything that might give me some clues. In her car, I found an open STD test and a visit summary from her doctor that said she tested positive for herpes. I started shaking and didn't want to believe it. I sat in her car for a while, staring at the trees around me. I obviously couldn't sleep with my wife again. Then I got scared. I already had it. I went to stay with my mom for a few days while I waited for my own test results. My wife barely noticed my absence because she was dealing with her own problems. Thank God my test results were clean. She didn't get it from me or give it to me. Now I could address the issue at hand. My wife had to face reality. I was already irritated that she didn't tell me anything about it. I had lots of questions, but they didn't really need answering. I didn't really need to know how she got herpes, only that she did while she was on vacation with her sister in the same office, which gave me an idea. I received an email invite to a work party, and attached to that email were all the emails of her coworkers and bosses. I emailed everyone a picture of my wife's diagnosis with a text that said my wife brought home a present from vacation. The response. But before my wife realized what I did, her sister called me. She asked what was going on, and I told her all about it. She admitted that she wasn't with my wife the whole time they were gone. At first, she thought I was being really unfair by sharing my wife's private issue with her work crew. But after I vented to her about it and brought up the impending divorce, she sided with me. Just then, my wife came outside and banged on the car window. She looked furious and terrified. She screamed and cried inaudible words. I got out of the car and she started hitting me, but stopped when I told her she cheated on me. She couldn't keep it together. She was overwhelmed and probably hadn't even let the reality of her STD or infidelity sink in. I told her she cheated on me while on vacation and got herpes. She betrayed me, and now I would never sleep with her again. She cried breathlessly, tried saying sorry, tried saying she used protection, but none of it mattered, and I think she knew that. She went back inside the house defeated. After I told her to pack her stuff, her sister came over because she was on the phone for some of our confrontations. She helped her pack and calmed her down by talking about the future she could have. All the motivation left her when she tried to go to work. She received so much backlash and shame for what she did to me. Whether it was to her face or notes left on her desk, she was insulted, called out, and slandered. She only worked for one day after vacation before quitting. Her sister's been really quiet, and as far as I know, she still lives with her. It wouldn't surprise me if she quit dating for a while or even had trouble forgiving herself. I know I lucked out and dodged by doing my own investigation and separating myself from her while I figured out what I needed to know. I hope she uses protection and tells people about her diagnosis and cheating habits. Today's third story. In this story, Obie discovers her wife's secret relationship with her ex-felon boyfriend, leading to her admission of cheating and a potential pregnancy. The husband confronts her and demands her to leave, and she ends up staying with the felon. The felon proves to be unfaithful, resulting in her being dumped while pregnant. She faces homelessness and struggles, reaching out to her husband for help. Despite her regrets, the husband decides not to intervene, acknowledging she is no longer his responsibility due to her deceit and poor decisions, ultimately ending their once great life together. Now let's get into the story. My wife was a literate woman, so she really enjoyed writing letters to a couple of pen pals. It was always her thing, and I never questioned her about it. She'd tell me a few things about what her friends were up to, but it was never anything that weird. She was always the one to get the mail too. It came while I was at work, and she never failed to bring it in. I never saw the mail she received. I just assumed she would tell me if anything exciting was happening. My wife got a gym membership. I couldn't believe it, but within 5 months she lost 50 pounds. That is an extreme weight loss, and she earned it. I was really enjoying her new confidence in the bedroom, but our bedroom activities gradually became less frequent. I was pretty bummed that it always seemed like she was focused on something, deep in thought about daily problems, or at the gym. I eventually persuaded her, but it seemed like something was on her mind. I asked her what was up, and she said one of her pen pals was moving to town soon, and she was nervous to meet her in person. I told her she shouldn't worry about it, or feel like she has to go. I offered to go with her, and she insisted that wasn't necessary because she was too nervous to change the dynamic of their relationship, and was going to keep their relationship to strictly pen pals. As soon as she said this, I suddenly had a flashback of what she told me, before we got married, about an ex-boyfriend she had that was serving time in prison. They were together for several years, and his release date wasn't until that very same year. I swear I nearly had a heart attack. I grabbed my chest and went into the bathroom. My wife was asking me what was wrong, what was going through my head, and I asked her shakily if she was talking about her ex being released from prison. She hesitated to answer, but said yes, like a deflating balloon. She looked super nervous and sweaty. I asked her what else she was hiding from me. She pretended to be innocent and clueless, but I told her I knew her for 8 years and she wasn't going to get any lies past me. She said that he already got out and she already saw him several times. Even worse, she could be pregnant and wasn't sure who the father was. I steadied myself from falling over and yelled breathlessly for her to get out. I couldn't even look at her. I couldn't believe she was despicable enough to do this disgusting thing she just admitted to. She pleaded with me not to leave her because she wasn't sure who the father was, and if it was my baby, we should keep our family together. I told her she was nuts for thinking that sleeping with her ex-felon boyfriend was forgivable. We had no idea who the father was, and that was horrible. I eventually got her outside, along with some clothes and crap she owned. She was sitting out there for a while, but when I checked the 5th time, she was gone. I didn't know what she was going to do, but I honestly hoped she wouldn't go to the felon. Over the next 3 months, she tried calling me, leaving the emotional voicemails and texting to ask for money. She was staying with the felon. She wouldn't admit it was his baby until I told her I wouldn't give her money either way. Then she told me it was his. She said he drank a lot, and she felt like it was only a matter of time until he went back to prison. Well, before he got in trouble with the law again, he got in trouble with her. He slept with several other women and didn't try to be discreet about it at all. He didn't respect her at all, and it was painfully clear he didn't consider her to be anything close to a wife. She started calling me sorrowfully every week. She said she had no idea her life was going to end up like this. She admitted that she blamed herself and her stupid mistake. I told her that admitting she made a mistake, or several, was the first step to making smarter decisions. She asked me what was going to happen to her, and I wish I could have prepared her for what was to come. She was dumped and kicked out by her felon lover, for months pregnant. Shortly after that, he was taken back to prison while hosting a party with illegal things. She told me on a voicemail that she was taken into a women's shelter, but it was first come, first serve each night, so sometimes she failed to get there early enough and had to sleep on a park bench. If she couldn't find a new place to live, she was at risk of having her baby taken by Child Protective Services. I was nervous for her, but didn't involve myself too much with it. I knew she was no longer my responsibility, and things have a way of sorting themselves out somehow. I wish she would have been honest and appreciated the new life she created with me. Instead, it's like she wanted to have a relationship with both of us. She made several poor decisions by going behind my back and lying so many times she lost the great life we had together.